shotglassdigital.com. Rebel Force Radio's Fangirls Going Rogue is brought to you by Little Debbie Snacks and their new Cosmic Cupcakes.
Rebel Force Radio presents...
Hello, what have we here?
Fangirls Going Rogue.
I met her in a Jedi chat room.
Star Wars news, topics, and conversation from the female point of view.
I like the sound of that.
With Tricia, Barr, and Teresa Delgado. This is Fangirls Going Rogue.
Welcome, girls and boys, to another exciting episode of Fangirls Going Rogue. Episode 12, actually. This would be a 1-year anniversary? Maybe?
We're going to pass that mark, yes, but I'm feeling like we might get to graduate, like to podcast kindergarten or something after this.
Maybe first grade.
First grade.
Woohoo!
In the last year, I have learned how to edit audio as opposed to just sending it to our wonderful hosts on RebelForce Radio and saying, Jimmy Mac, could you please put this together for me? I can do a little of that stuff, so I feel a little accomplished.
There you go. And I have learned how to write show notes. Our community's awesome. I've also learned that.
Our community is awesome. And I want to know what your favorite Little Debbie snack cake is.
Oh, yeah, we need to talk about that. Well, first of all, what did you get?
I got a bunch. I'm like in a sugar rush.
I got Star Crunch. I know you got Star Crunch.
Yes, cloud
cakes, cosmic brownies, cosmic cupcakes.
Brownies.
Okay, so did you get all those?
Yeah.
Okay, so we got the same ones. And my favorite right now is like a tie between the cosmic brownie and the Star Crunch.
No, Star Crunch. It's like cereal with caramel sugar on it. And I can eat it for breakfast and pretend like it's a legit breakfast, even though I know I'm starting my sugar rush early.
Right.
So.
I had it for breakfast the other day. I think you saw my tweet. It was like the first thing I ate when I got to work. I took 2 boxes with me. I took a box of Star Crunch and a box of Cosmic Brownies. And they were sitting on my desk, and I was breaking into them, and suddenly all these people appeared. And they were looking at me, and I'm like, go away. So anyway, back to the normal intro. We're brought to you by Rebel Force Radio and Little Debbie Snack Cakes. So thank you, Little Debbie. And I'm your host, that's on a sugar high, Teresa Delgado. And with me is I know you put Wookiee cookie eating in there, but I'm going to call you a Star Crunch eating co-host, Tricia Barr. Hey.
Hey. Now that we've got our cookie snack eating discussion out of the way. Everybody's probably running to get their snacks.
Yep. Now's a good time, snacks and drinks.
Yes, because we're going to have a fantastic conversation. But if I'm Wookiee cooking and Star Crunch eating co-host, you have to pick a name for the episode. What do you want to be? Galactic Traveler?
Yeah, I like that.
There you go. That might fit for your week, your month, last couple of weeks. Yes.
Man. So first things up, we want to mention that you can actually catch us going a little Sith very soon. The Fangirls will be going Sith over on Full of Sith, the podcast, here pretty soon. So you can catch that. I'm kind of excited. I wonder what we're like when we're going Sith instead of Rogue.
Well, pink lightsabers, which is on our awesome little new banner.
Yeah, new logo.
New logo. Yeah, the pink lightsaber, I think it works.
It does.
It can be sort of Sithy-like, and someone might be confused. So, as a matter of fact, I don't know if you saw me tweeting today. There was a bunch of us in the conversation, including Kat Tabor, who declared that she wants a pink lightsaber. So, the pink lightsabers are in demand. Disney, we're talking to you. Now, I will buy a pink lightsaber. So.
Well, I mean, that's great for you guys, but I already have my purple one, so I'm set. I would buy a pink one, though. I would do both.
We'd have to have multiple colors so they can see us coming. It's not like just a pink blur. It's like
Can I get a rainbow one? Like, it fades from pink to purple or something. How cool would that be?
Well, I would love for them to do that, or the lengthening lightsaber was always one of my favorites. I think Corin Horn had one of those, the one that just changes lengths when you need it to.
That would be nice. Like if I just want a little lightsaber dagger.
It could be Shoto, wear your lightsaber and extend it.
But yeah, seriously, we have a new logo in case anybody hasn't seen it. It's really awesome. It's very cool. And I won't say it's better than the other ones that we've had because the same guy helped develop those too, and we really liked them. But Jimmy Mack and Chris Amorim got together and put together our new logo, and we love it. Love it, love it, love it. Super excited. Well, we actually have some listener feedback, and one of the things that we've said is if you send us an email, we will read it. So we have 3. The first one is from Ryan Clark, and he says, "Hi, girls and guys. My name is Ryan, and I'm very interested in Ashley Eckstein's work for her universe and Star Wars The Clone Wars. I first met her at Star Wars Weekends in Disney World last year and her husband at last year's Kamikaze, which I'm a huge fan of, but my question is, do you think Ashley will have any voice opportunities in Rebels? We have no inside information. Let me just say that up front. None. I don't know if she'll ever do anything in Rebels, but I would love it if she did."
She's like part of the family, and I hope, not just for, obviously for Ashley, but for, hoping that maybe that's Ahsoka. So just keep my fingers crossed because, one of my favorite hashtags is Ahsoka lives. She didn't die at the end of the Clone Wars. She still has a future in Star Wars. And one day, I hope I get to see it. Otherwise, I'm going to have to sit down and write a fanfic. So
I would love to read that. Okay, our next one is from Matthew, and he says, "Hello, fangirls. My name is Matthew Appleby, and as I was listening to your most recent show, I was finally motivated to write in to you both. I have been listening to you two since the first episode after being reluctant initially because I felt like, as a fanboy, I might not relate. I ended up taking the plunge because of my wife and daughter." We get that a lot, so thank you so much for actually listening and finding that you, too, can be an honorary fangirl. He goes on to say, "My wife initially was not into the wars, but the Clone Wars piqued her interest and rekindled my interest in the series as well. My daughter is only 4, though I tried to be very careful to not push my love of Star Wars on her. She has seen my love for it and wants to share with Dad. I could not be luckier than to have a daughter who can drop the names Darth Vader, Chewbacca, and Chopper alongside those of Tinkerbell, Rainbow Dash, and Doc McStuffins. Anyways, thank you both for providing a show that appeals to fangirls and fanboys who wants to stand alongside those fans of the fairer sex and be able to talk about glitter bombs and the awesomeness of Ahsoka. To wind down this rambling email, I wanted to suggest a topic for a future show or segment. On the show, you both do a good job of celebrating the generous nature of everyone across the fandom. While I admire many of the generous acts of groups like the 501st Legion, I don't have the resources to participate and give back through my fandom in that way. I was wondering if you gals would consider sharing out various ways that people with varying degrees of monetary resources could give back to others through our shared love of Star Wars. Sorry for going on so long. Thank you for all the work you put into the show, and may the Ewok bonfires of Lieutenant Ketch be with you always, Matthew Appleby." And then, hang on, he says, "P.S. When the Rebels toy rollout neglected to include any female characters, there was a big outcry, and rightly so, about underrepresentation. While that line is improving in variety, I would like to point out that the Playschool Jedi Force line, meant for our littlest Star Tots, has producing figures for a couple of years now with no female characters at all. Sad, but at least they can always have a 3 3/4 inch Hera and Sabine soon." So, couple of things. I guess I'll let you kind of comment on the idea of the charity stuff.
Well, we had when we had Kat Tabor on, she has where you can donate video games or books to her charity directly to her, and we'll provide that link again in our show notes. And I think really you see different movements pop up. I can't say that there's one thing, directly. I've seen that there's a Force for the Cure this month for breast cancer that's out there. You can actually find the hashtag and search for that, where there are some people that are cosplaying in Star Wars pink. trying to raise money for breast cancer. And then sometimes through like 501st Rebel Legion and the Mandalorian Mercs, you might not be able to cosplay, but they have events. Ryder Wyndham has his blood drives if you're in the, Northeast Rhode Island area where people can go give blood and celebrate. I think he did that on Star Wars Reads Day this month. So there's always different things. And if we see them, we will tweet them out because that's any way you can give back. But sometimes just even, sharing Star Wars or some little kind act where maybe you help a little kid or fan kid enjoy Star Wars and learn about it, then you're giving back too.
Yeah, and also with the holidays coming up, one of the things that kind of a lot of people do is they donate Star Wars toys to a lot of the different, like Blue Santa, Brown Santa, Orange Santa, all those kind of things. But they make sure to put notes on all of the Star Wars toys that say can go to a girl or a boy. So those are other things that you can do coming up here for the holidays. So
I remember when I went to one of the Clone Wars screenings years ago, I think it was season 3 when I went to Atlanta, and they asked that people bring toys to the screening, and that was all going to be donated to Toys for Tots. I went into the Target when I got to Atlanta and literally bought like every Star Wars toy, and I did that. I put this can go to a girl or a boy on the sticker, on them, so that when they open them up that they would consider crossing those toys. So sometimes they don't think of it. So it's a little thing and you don't think of it, but it could mean a big difference. Because I know plenty of girls who had their Millennium Falcons and their TIE Fighters and their X-Wings that they played with when they were growing up too.
Right. And then what he's pointing out about the toy line, it's kind of interesting to go a little bit further back than the Play School Jedi Force line. Before that was a Hasbro line called Galactic Heroes, and there was actually a Play School line similar to that before that. And they did a really good job of having a lot of the female characters and in a lot of their different costumes and things like that. So it was pretty exciting. But he is right that the Jedi Force line, which is for the littlest Star Wars tots, really has not had much diversity to it either. So hopefully toys will start changing. We'll just keep fighting the fight. That's all we can do.
And I'm not a big collector, but I did buy Galactic Heroes. I loved those, and they were some of my favorite. They're just cute and adorable, and they look really good on a shelf.
We do collect most things that are cutesy. I have my collection is pretty much complete. I think I'm missing like 2 or 3 figures of the Galactic Heroes of every one of them, which is insane. It's insane. That's all I can say. I started that and then regretted it later.
Such is the life of a collector.
Right? Okay, and our last email is from Martin Acuna, and he says, it's very simple. He just says that I guess this no woman thing is everywhere. A young girl speaks out about Dick's Sporting Goods catalog. And so I wanted to point this out because we've talked about, them showing females in, just pop culture and Star Wars and all that stuff. But even more so in things that are reality. There was a young girl who, she's 12. Her name's actually McKenna, Tricia. She noticed that there were no women in the Dick's Sporting Goods catalog that just came out, and she wrote a letter to the CEO. And he has thus admitted the mistake. Moving forward, and she was wondering why women were missing from the company's new basketball catalog, but instead of just complaining, the young girl took action. So it's everywhere. It's not just in Star Wars, which makes me even more sad.
Well, this happened in Legos where a young lady pointed out, and there was a young woman who pointed out she noticed. It's amazing because you think kids don't notice these things, but, noticed that there was a, blue boys aisle and a pink girls aisle, and, she was looking for the toys so kids are really smart. Even 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they're smart. They pick these things up, and maybe it's because we're talking about it and they notice it too. But for little girl to pick it up, it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's great. And then I wanted to say thanks to Martin as well, because he actually bought the Rebels DVD. And in every Disney movie, you get the movie rewards. Well, I just wanted to say thank you, because he doesn't use them, and he sent me his movie rewards. So thanks, man. Appreciate it. Those go towards me saving up points to get new pop vinyls. Nice. So you will be a part of my next toy. So super
Very
appreciate
nice.
it. So that's all I've got. What do we have up?
We have It's Feeling Like Star Wars. That's what I titled this segment when I thought of it. And it's just like Kathleen Kennedy was in London, and they're, launching the ILM studio out there. And so we're now a week away from that when you're listening to this. But she kind of drops this, we're 3 weeks away from finishing episode 7, as in probably filming. Mm-hmm. Not, it's ready to go, we're going to show it to you tomorrow, which we all wish. But you're starting to see pictures, like Lupita Nyong'o tweeted a picture holding the Han Solo in the Stormtrooper gear with her cute little, I don't know if it's a gummy bear or a piece of gum on her tooth, and her episode 7 cap, which I hope they sell those somewhere, like a Celebration hint. I want one of those caps. And it just keeps, all these little things roll out. And do you feel like Star Wars is starting to come with Rebels and everything else?
I do, but I think I'm staying away from anything that has to do with the film so much that for me, right now, my Star Wars is all Rebels.
That's not a bad thing, though.
I've put up this wall with the movie, so like the picture you're talking about, I haven't even seen, because all I saw was her name and something to do with episode 7, and I was like, nope.
Oh, there's nothing spoiler. It's actually cute. And it's so funny because I was like, well, it doesn't even look like Lupita. She just looks like an average person walking around with a Han Solo Stormtrooper action figure.
I don't even think it's about spoilers as much as it is about reserving the excitement for episode 7 for when episode 7 is here. Like I'm spreading it out.
She's keeping it all. So you guys just watch out.
Yeah,
in November.
Seriously watch out. Because as soon as that first trailer hits, for instance, and I see it, if you're in the movie theater and you're in either the Tampa or Austin area, and you hear a really high-pitched scream and somebody stand up and start clapping, that's probably me.
What do you think, or what is your hope? Because there have been people like speculating when the trailers are going to be, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. We're already speculating about when a trailer's going to be, and I feel like we won't see anything until Celebration. Because April sometime we might see a little smidge, a little hint of it. But do you have like a preference? Would you rather them do it later, closer to December, or do you want to see a smidge and hint at the 1 year point this year in December? What do you want?
It's not so much about what I want, but what I think. I think we're going to get some very vague, like, episode 7 teaser, like, super teaser, that's, like, really ridiculously just, like, some music and, like, a black screen and, like, some stars and maybe,
and
like, a ship and a lightsaber, and that's it, in December. And then I think we'll get like a teaser trailer around Celebration time. And then we'll get a rollout of like maybe 2 or 3 different trailers leading into next December. But I would not be surprised if we get like like a black screen and a lightsaber lights up. And then you hear like a ship and it goes into like some stars. And then you just get the Star Wars theme song. And then like... and maybe, like, the green Lucasfilm before it. See, I don't know, though. Like, will we get the green? We'll probably get the green Lucasfilm. But in the movie, who knows? I mean, like, we're not going to get the Fox fanfare. What are we going to get? I don't know. I have no idea.
We're going to get the Disney castle with TIE fighters screaming in.
No, it's going to be the Jedi Temple as the Disney castle with TIE fighters.
Oh, I like that, too.
Yeah.
As long as it's not the Jedi Temple in ruins.
And then maybe it won't be Tinkerbell that goes across, but maybe it'll be like a meteor or a comet or.
Well, does Tinkerbell fly with her like wand when she does the like? Could it be a lightsaber and stuff?
It's like a pixie dust trail.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
I think.
Well, one of the things that we're getting punchy now. One of the things that I wanted to point out, one of the people who was there at this opening in London, and we love that there's this great British connection with the movie because we get more podcasts with like Radio 113.
Yeah, because we just like listening to British people. You can say it.
It's true. It's true. Was Lin-Wen Brennan, who's the president of ILM. And so I wanted everyone to note that there's a woman president of ILM. And she has been the person who's been leading this charge to open and expand beyond San Francisco. And now they're in Vancouver, Singapore, and London. And so she just talks about the talent in the city and how it's a great creative community. And sometimes you don't realize how really influential, England and the London area has been on Star Wars, but it's always been there. There's always been that kind of connection. So, it's nice to see kind of the, the international scope of Star Wars expanding because, you're over in Europe, more people get access, more people get excited. So I like that.
Definitely. Now there's more of a reason for me to go back to London, which is one of my favorite places ever.
Oh, I love London.
Me too. Okay, so let's see. We wanted to talk a little bit about spoiler etiquette. I know you do a show that's all about speculation, and you probably have to look at spoilers a lot, huh?
Yes, but I also...
Or rumors.
Yes, and rumors, all of that. And yes, I look at all of that. But I'm also very respectful. I came originally, my online experience started in the TFN message boards. And one of the things I learned very on in the etiquette, which I think is a useful lesson going forward, and you kind of have to translate it different from social media. But if you put anything up in that you were talking about spoilers, you needed to put what we called a spoiler warning with a lot of spaces and sometimes that, and then also highlight to read. So you gave the person a chance, if they happen along a discussion, to not see what you had posted or written about, or if it was an image, you gave them a chance to not see it. And Teresa, I think you provided sort of the modern version example of this on the Fangirl Going Rogue Facebook page the other day. So you want to explain what you did?
Sure. So basically, we got the announcement that Star Wars Rebels, the Spark of the Rebellion mini-movie was going to be airing on ABC, and it will actually be on ABC on the 26th of October. But we also got some information about that there will be an additional clip added, spoiler warning, alert, news, that Darth Vader is being added as a special scene and that he's going to be voiced by James Earl Jones, which is all awesome, right? Super exciting. But there was also some press that went out that involved what he was going to look like. And there was an article, and of course, okay, you would think that I would not click on this.
But you did.
But I did, because I wanted to see what he was going to look like. And I was like, this is great news. This is awesome. This is really cool stuff. There are going to be people that want to see this. Maybe I should share it. So I was sharing it on our Fangirls Going Rogue Facebook page. And if you do anything on Facebook, you know that you have the opportunity to post a thumbnail picture or not. And I said, well, this is what it looks like if I show the image. And it's basically showing the image of what Darth Vader looks like. So if anybody goes to our Facebook page and looks, they're going to see what he looks like, whether they want to or not. So I decided that I would get rid of the image, just have the text of me saying what this was, and that if you wanted to go look, here's the link. That way, people could see the news, they could see what was happening, but they didn't have to see the picture if they didn't want to see the picture. So, because that's how I would like it, if people did that. But most people don't do that.
Yeah, and, you know, we've had a lot of leaked images this past couple of weeks, and I know you get really excited, you see them, you're like, oh my gosh, I want to share with my friends. One of the things that I do is I try to I try to remember who my friends are who want to see stuff and want to be spoiled completely and want to talk about things. And I will send those things to them privately because you can still have a conversation. She'll still share your excitement. And I usually send a link because if they don't want to look at it or they're busy, they're not bombarded. Or as I say, sometimes you just see the image and you're like, I can't even concentrate on anything else now. I just have to think about that. But you try it. Sometimes you just see people, they just reflexively put it in like a twit pic. They load it on a Twitter and it comes up on your feed. And yes, there are people who say you shouldn't just stay away from social media. But I think there's, some way to just be respectful and know that not everybody wants to be bombarded in the moment with these images. So,
yeah, you can do it in a different way. I've done it on Twitter where I put a link in, but instead of doing like a picture, I just put a link because links don't necessarily show up with a preview. Yes. And so I do stuff like that. I don't do that often because, as people probably already know, I tend to stay away from things. But I will be the first one out there that puts out some hashtag that says, hey, think about other people.
Yeah.
Don't want to see it.
So, like here, we're generally going to be spoiler free, unless I don't think that something that's blasted out by Lucasfilm, or that Disney, something that they've projected out into the major media as news is necessarily a spoiler.
Surprise!
And they're not going to blast out a plot point. We might get a summary of the movie, but any movie has a summary, and they typically don't spoil. They typically kind of tell you what the conflict is going to be in some hoity-toity words that don't really mean anything. It's like, there's going to be drama in the Skywalker family, and that would be essentially the kind of how they would, say what's going to happen in the episode.
So they don't even tell us what it is, where it's going to be, whatever. They'd use buzzwords of Darth Vader, James Earl Jones, and Rebels.
Yes. So I just try to, we try to keep it here, respect Teresa and everybody else's, you won't come here and get bombarded with news. Again, if you want to hear spoilers and storytelling, you can listen to Hyperspace Theories.
RebelForce Radio.
And RebelForce Radio, at the last 15 minutes, they do, like, at the very end, you can get spoiled. But if you want to stop before that, you can turn off. But I will admit that it can be very addictive if you're just like, I just want to listen to a little bit. And you're like, I just want to listen to a little bit more. So
that's what people say about ice cream cones, Tricia.
Once you go down that path, forever will it cloud your destiny.
Path to the dark side. This is why you're going Sith this coming weekend.
Oh no, maybe that's not a good thing.
I don't know.
Forever will it cloud our destiny. So it will be playing on, let's see, it's going to be Wednesday, and then on Sunday you can go on ABC if you haven't watched Rebels already, because you should, and you can watch it with everybody else and see another little scene.
Yep, it'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern on your local ABC channel on October 26th with a special scene that none of us have seen. Woohoo!
Woohoo! So I'm going to have to watch. So
okay, well, I'm going to ask you, where do you think this is going to go?
What with Vader being?
Is this spoilery for us to talk about it?
No, but I know we're speculating, and I love it because I'm making you speculate.
Well, I've already speculated on this.
Well, where do you think it's going to go? I haven't even considered it. I've been actually so crazy, just working, that I haven't thought about it. So tell me, because then I don't.
When when Callus talks to the Inquisitor at the end, it's one of those things where he's like talking to a hologram, and then it cuts to the actual Inquisitor who's interacting with a hologram of Vader.
I can see that.
That's what I think.
I don't think it. I always wonder if it's going to be more than, like it's more hype than what we thought it was.
I think it's going to end with Darth Vader breathing.
Well, that could work. And, I don't remember back way when there was some type of marketing event. I think it was over in Europe, and someone had found, the news. This is over like a year ago, where they said there were going to be 4 interstitials and 2 Vader specials. I think this is the movie of the week on the front and the back, and the Rebels are this is our Vader thing.
Yeah,
everybody was wondering what it was going to be, because, there's a whole thing of the movie of the week, and the episode numberings are confusing.
It's very easy. Movie of the week is episode 1 and episode 2. Episode 3 came out on the 13th. Episode 4 is airing today as we record. And episode 5 will be next Monday. See? Done.
Well, but they have to have these numbers down so they can do them on, on the little wiki sites and stuff. So they got to have them organized.
Well, that's how I organized it for the little review show I'm doing for Rebels. So
there you go.
How I did it.
We actually, on our last episode, you were just starting going to Fanboy Expo. You had just done your first day.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of got to tell us who you were sharing that event with and hosting. And that was Steve Blum.
Yep.
And Greg Ellis. I said his last name right. See, now I worried the whole time I was going to say it wrong.
Well, yeah, I did. I got a chance to talk to Steve Blum and to Greg Ellis. So first we're going to hear from Steve Blum. He plays Zeb. I was about to call him Gara Zeb. Gara Zeb Aurelius.
You have to say the whole name, just like Hera does.
Yeah.
Like she's
Gara Zeb Aurelius.
Like he's some naughty child.
He plays Zeb on Star Wars Rebels. So let's jump into that.
My name's Zeb, you love rat.
So how did you enjoy the con?
It was awful. No, it was actually really fun. We had a great time here.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, I got to hang out with you and my buddy Greg Ellis here, and we've worked on a million things together, but have never spent time in the same room together and actually had words.
Did you ever have to check your IMDb so much?
No, I don't have to, fortunately, because the fans do it for me. That's the beauty of coming to conventions. The fans do it for me. They tell me what my career has been. So thank you, fans.
So we know you can't say a whole lot about Rebels, but tell us a little bit about Zeb.
Well, Zeb is big. He's purple. He's of the Lasat race
from the planet Lasan, and he is a warrior from his planet, trained in martial arts. He has a badass weapon called a bow rifle and prehensile feet, so he can grab stormtroopers by the head and toss them around. And coincidentally, his favorite hobby is bashing stormtroopers. He loves the sound of the bucket heads bashing together. And he's on this ship. He's on the Ghost with an incredible new team of rebels, and everybody's got a story about how the Empire has wronged them. And these are kind of the seedlings of how the rebellion began.
So tell me a little bit about you and the cast.
Oh.
We know you guys are close.
We're close. We're a family already. I mean, we haven't been working on the show that long, but starting with Dave Filoni, who is the genius behind Clone Wars and so many other things. He's kind of the ringleader of all this stuff. And then we have Freddie Prinze Jr., who's playing Kanan, and he is our resident Jedi and one of the ones who escaped Order 66. And then we have Hera, who's played by Vanessa Marshall. She's our pilot, and she's also a brilliant warrior in her own way and sort of the mom on the ship. And Vanessa and I have worked on so many shows together, and it's really nice to see her to get a really strong female leading type role in this thing, and she takes care of the rest of the crew. And then we have Ezra, who's played by Taylor Gray, and this is Ezra's first show. And Ezra Bridger is a kid who, he reminds me of Aladdin a lot. He's a street rat kid and just stealing stuff and making his own way in the world, and he kind of has nothing to lose, and so he's the perfect choice to become part of the rebellion, and sort of reluctantly joins us. And then we have Sabine, who is played by Tia Sircar, and she's a warrior in her own right. She's a really strong young chick who is also a tagger, does beautiful artwork, most of the time unauthorized. And she's got a good chip on her shoulder, but very loyal to the cause. And then we have this little turd named Chopper. And Chopper is a droid he's put together from junk, pretty much. But he's brilliant, and Chopper kind of helps us out of situations. And Zeb and Chopper don't get along. I kick that little bucket of bolts around quite a bit. But he's part of the crew, and he's one of the family just as much as anybody else.
That's great. And I heard you tell the story this weekend about finding out that it was a Star Wars show that you were auditioning for, but can you tell a little bit of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's such a closely guarded franchise, and I understand why. And a lot of things that I work on when I'm auditioning, I have no idea what they are. But this show in particular was called something else entirely. It was called Wolf, I believe, in its origins, and that was largely due to Dave Filoni's love of wolves. And I didn't know anything about him, really, or what any of this was, and it just sounded like a cool show that I was auditioning for. You get a callback for it and kind of go through the paces of the callback. And there was some hints that it was Star Wars related, but I didn't understand the scope. And it didn't really hit me until I was actually in England, and I got the call. I was there for a Transformers convention, and I get the call that I booked this show, and the first episode, which is the short, which is out now, I need to find a studio there and go record it. So I go out to the middle of the countryside near Birmingham, go into this guy's house, and it was random, and show up at this guy's house, and he didn't know what it was, I didn't know what it was. He downloads the copy and puts it in front of me, and I see stormtroopers all over the copy, and I'm thinking, oh my god, this is Star Wars. This is Star Wars. And I had my fanboy moment in there, and I don't know if I squealed out loud, but they could probably tell you, but I was on the phone with everybody back in LA, recording this thing in the evening after a long day at a con, and just melted. I melted into my 8-year-old self, knowing that I was now becoming part of the Star Wars franchise for reals.
That is really cool. And I know you've been a Star Wars fan your entire life.
Yeah.
Ever since you can remember. Do you have a favorite movie?
Well, my movie was New Hope, because I was graduating high school. It was 1977, and I went to opening night, and I remember sitting in the theater and seeing the Imperial Star Destroyer come across the screen for the first time, and nobody had ever seen anything like that in a theater or felt anything like that in a theater. Just the rumble alone blew everybody away, and there was this audible gasp from everyone in the audience, myself included, and I think I saw it 3 times that weekend, and it changed the face of filmmaking, and that's what I hold with me for this, and it's so exciting for me to come back so many years later and actually participate in this universe. And I've had the fortune of working with Mark Hamill and a few other people from the original movie. Mark and I work on Regular Show and several other things, and I already went through my fanboy thing with him so much that I didn't think it was possible to go deeper, but this takes it deeper. And this is the first thing that I've seen, and I've worked on a lot of Star Wars games and stuff. All of it's been amazing, but this is the first thing that I've seen that really gave me that same cellular memory again of what I felt in 77.
So what do you think about the fan community? I mean, I know you were at Star Wars Weekend, so you got a big dose of it there.
Yep.
Now that you're doing conventions, for Zeb, and kind of what are you starting to feel from the community, and you've seen it on social media and all that kind of stuff?
It's an intense obsession and love for this stuff like I've never experienced. I've been in anime forever, and I've been going to conventions for many years. And so I know what fandom is. I know how deep it goes. Star Wars just kind of took it to a whole different level, and it's a different group of people too than I'm used to. And going to Star Wars Weekend and seeing 20, 30,000 people along the parade route, and I'm in a convertible waving to them, and our show hasn't even come out, and they're chanting my name. That speaks to a whole different kind of fandom that I'm used to, and it's shocking. It was overwhelming. I think I cried several times during that weekend, just in pure joy to be part of something like this. And being a fan, I felt like I was one of them. I felt like I wanted them all to jump in the car with me.
Well, we probably would have if we could have.
Yeah.
So, do you have a favorite moment so far with fandom that sticks out?
Regarding the Star Wars fandom?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah, I think so. At Star Wars Weekends, there was a family helmed by this grandmother in a wheelchair. And they were just this big, warm, wonderful group of people, and they were taking this giant family picture, and they invited me into their family picture, and they said it's a tradition, and now I'm part of their family tradition. And they were the first ones on the parade route, also screaming for me as I'm coming out, and I was thinking, God, I feel like I'm part of something now. That was the moment that it really set in for me, that this is so much bigger than I ever expected.
Well, we are glad to have you a part of the family. And can't wait to see you at Celebration because we know you'll be there.
Yes.
And hopefully many more Star Wars weekends to come.
And I am so grateful to meet you. I heard so many wonderful things about you from Vanessa, and you exceeded all of those expectations, and I feel like we're friends for life now.
Oh, well.
You're my little sister, baby.
We will be. All right, great. Thank you so much. It's been a blast. This weekend was fun.
Thank you. Bye, fangirls.
I already like the sound of him. He just makes me laugh, and, you know, I have a thing for accents, and I absolutely... It's true. So everybody can send in voicemails and accents.
That would be amazing. Oh, I would love that.
And then and the episode that sort of we started to see Zeb's story unfolding. I wasn't sure if I was going to like this character, and I just love him, and I'm so glad you got to meet him and do that little interview.
Yeah, it was a blast, and honestly, Zeb has become my favorite character of the entire show so far, because he's the only one that really has had a lot of lines, has had a lot of depth to his character developed, and so far he's my favorite. But that'll probably change, and I'll love them all equally. Yeah, so he's great. And he's a great guy, too, which makes it even easier to love Zeb as a character. But also at Fanboy Expo was another actor from Star Wars Rebels. His name is Greg Ellis. He actually plays Baron Ruhdor. And Baron Ruhdor is a TIE fighter pilot, and we see him in the interstitial with Ezra. But he will be in several episodes of Rebels, as well as the interstitial that we saw him in. So let's give a little bit of a listen to Greg Ellis, and I think you're going to like his clip even more, because he is British. So I think you're going to like it, Tricia.
Okay.
I
know you can't.
Yeah, if anything.
This is Teresa Delgado at Fanboy Expo in Tampa.
Fanboy Expo. In Tampa Boy Expo Fangirl.
And I'm with Greg Ellis, who plays
Baron Ruhdor
for Star Wars Rebels. Greg, this was your first convention ever. How was it?
Ist alles ungeeignet. You want me to speak in English? It was an interesting experience. The people were absolutely delightful. Hey, Damien, how's it going? Just getting interviewed. That's Damien over there. You can't see him because it's on the podcast. But anyway, that's Steve Blum. He's some people call him Steve Blum. I call him Sven Blum. But what was the question again?
How did you like your first convention?
Oh, it was full of shenaniganry, tales, experiences, wondrous people, fantastical costumes with wonderful aromas, and delightful eyes into the world of conventionery here in Tampa.
So you can't tell us much about Rebels, but tell me a little bit about your character.
My character is a TIE fighter by the name of Baron Ruhdor. He's a smidge, full of himself, a little arrogant, brave, single-minded, and looks very good in his TIE fighter outfit.
Okay, do you have a favorite family-friendly moment from the convention?
Yes, I have a very fan-friendly favourite moment from the convention. It would have to be sitting next to Steve Blum, being assisted by Teresa, meeting the deliciously delightful Tony Katane.
Who is here, by the way.
Hi. I heard he was in town, so I came by.
And that's why you came, right?
That's why I'm here.
And doing a Q&A and answering some of the questions from the fans was just so much fun.
You know I'm going to ask you to do Ty, the Tasmanian tiger.
You want to
I want Ty.
Okay. I think he sounded like this, right? Hey, it's Ty the Tasmanian tiger. How you doing, sweetheart? Oh, look, Teresa, darling, look at you. You love this game, didn't you? You like 1, 2, or 3 best? Which one?
2.
2, why is that?
Because it was really fun.
Oh, Spice Force Billabong has about a kilowatt. Oh, sell it to a dingo.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, he did Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, the PS2 game. So, do you think you're going to do any more conventions?
Nice to meet you guys. Paths cross again.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. See, everything's closing down. Everyone's coming by.
Fucking awesome.
Hey, Efren, here's the thing. 10 minutes into an interview for a kid-friendly podcast, and you swear.
That was Pedro from Napoleon Dynamite. As you can tell, Fanboy Expo has been a blast. Greg, thank you so much.
I haven't said.
Oh, wait. Yes. Do you like Star Wars?
Oh, I wasn't really the biggest fan until I found out about Greg Ellis. And now I can't get enough.
And now you're going to watch Star Wars Rebels, right?
Oh, absolutely. I'm completely 100% into it.
Okay, you are officially a fangirl. I've just given you a badge.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You are so welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, everybody. You want to say bye? Want to say may the Force be with you?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
All right, he does several accents, including Tasmanian.
Yeah, Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. It's my favorite. Did you hear me squeal? It's the best part. Oh.
Now I'm going to have to go look that up because I was like, oh, wow, I kind of like this character. He's like Tony the Tiger down under.
Down under. He is... Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, for anybody who doesn't know, is a platform video game on the PlayStation 2. And I think there was 3 Ty games. And I love platform-style games. So those are the kind where they're kind of like Mario, where they're running across a screen. Now, it can be more 3D, but it's that basic concept. But I love platform games. So Ratchet & Clank is a platform game. Shout out to James Arnold Taylor. You know, so it's just awesome. And when we did a lot of IMDbing of who they played during Fanboy Expo. Yeah. When he was like, oh yeah, I did Ty. And I'm like, what? You did Ty? And he starts doing his voice, and he would do it to me, do like the voice when I wasn't paying attention. I would be like turned around and he would say something, and I would just start giggling out of control because I loved that video game so much. So he found his way to like make me a complete and total fangirl flail whenever he wanted to.
And I just want to point out that, like, fangirl flail is now, like...
a thing.
Just a thing. And fanboys are adopting the flail. So I am very proud that a year later we have accomplished something.
Yes, we have.
Nobody will remember 10 years from now that that's where it came from. But yay!
Woohoo!
Fangirls went rogue and started something.
I'm happy.
So not only... this past month, since last episode, did we get to hear from Steve Blum and Greg Ellis on Rebels. We got to interview Amy Beth Christenson, who's working on Rebels. She did the artwork from the Imperial propaganda posters that went out. Oh, those were so long ago now. It seems like forever. Remember when they were sent out to some fans? And you can see the Imperial propaganda in the movie of the week. The posters are kind of like painted on the walls in the town when they're racing through. So, and Amy Beth Christenson, not only has she been working with Lucasfilm, LucasArts for a while, she also was the Judge's Choice winner in the Her Universe fashion show at San Diego Comic-Con with her Back to the Future dress. So
skirt?
What
was a skirt?
It was a jacket, a skirt, and the whole thing. Okay. It was and what I thought was just like totally, I loved it, is she talked about how she got interested. Her Aunt Dana, drew a picture of Luke Skywalker. And from that moment on, her goal in life was to be able to draw Luke Skywalker as well as her. And I was like, wow, her aunt got her into this sort of artistic mindset as a youngling to pursue this opportunity. And she's taken that and she went straight out of graduating from art school into LucasArts and worked on some amazing projects, and now she's right in there in, you know, even artists, not just writers, are telling part of the story in Star Wars, because it's not just a story. It's a visual medium, especially in Rebels. So all those little details tell you something about the character. So I just was so impressed by her passion for Star Wars, and this interview is fantastic. You can check it out on either Jedi News or on Fangirl blog. And was there anything else in the interview that you just you wanted to mention, so in case people don't get to read it, but you should?
No, because I really want people to go and read this. You know, it's not an audio interview, but it's so worth reading just to see what, you know, female creators have done, where they've come from, and that kind of thing. And maybe the only thing is because she answers are, what is your what's the most underappreciated thing about Star Wars? And she talks about Ewoks.
I knew you couldn't resist that. I knew that was where you were going to go, because I read it and I was like, yes, she's definitely in the Fangirl Club. I don't know anybody who, everybody always talks about people hating on Ewoks, but I don't know.
Now, I mean, I think people really did used to, but I think now if you said you didn't like Ewoks, that would be like saying that you don't like Kitwar, and then you know that I would come after you. Okay. I mean, maybe somebody one day will send in or tweet at us or social media and say, I really don't like Ewoks, and maybe they'll have a legitimate thing. You know that now people are just going to do that to do that.
So, not only were we getting to interview all these awesome people, and I still sometimes I think about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, all these people we got to talk to or send questions to, and they took their time with fans, and that's one of the things that we love about Star Wars. Thank you for all the great people who do. We were at conventions and in the trenches. So, Teresa, we're going to talk about New York Comic Con, which you were at the same time as the Geek Girl Con, but I went there last year and I missed out this year because it was the same time. So, what did I miss?
A lot. And can I just say that New York Comic Con is a whole lot easier to say than San Diego Comic Con and Geek Girl Con.
It's true.
It is. New York Comic Con. Gosh, there was so much. I've never been to New York Comic Con, and this was the first time I had been in New York City since I was 13. So it was all kinds of hashtag feels all over the place. And I don't know why I just said that. So maybe because I'm excited. It being my first New York Comic Con, it was super intense because it's the biggest convention I've ever been to, and I mean, it was huge. And from what I've heard, numbers-wise, New York Comic Con has now met San Diego Comic Con as the number of registrants that were there. Because I think, I could be wrong, and somebody can email us and tell me I'm wrong, and you may know, but San Diego Comic Con gets like 150,000 or so?
I think
year?
It's up there, yeah.
Like 100 to 150,000. I heard New York Comic Con was at 100,000 or so registrants this year, as far as people going. So it's become the San Diego Comic Con of the East Coast. And it was done really well, honestly. Like, it was organized really well. There was maybe some traffic problems here or there, or, you know, some panel issues. A couple things I didn't like. The main stage they did clear, but the other primary stages, so there's like the main stage and then there was the Empire stage and another one that were where all the big panels were, they didn't clear those rooms. And if you don't clear the rooms, then everybody that's waiting in line isn't going to get in, which is totally not cool when you want to go into a Once Upon a Time panel and you are on the cutoff.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah.
Bummed.
It was so bummed out because I wanted to see Jennifer Morrison and I wanted to be able to see the episode that aired that Sunday before it aired. So I got to see it kind of at an angle on a screen through a hole. So I saw nothing. So that would be nice if they would do that. But it was cool because they had all these meal vendors and stuff on the inside and everything. So I never went hungry. There was always a popcorn or churro cart near me. I felt like I was at Disney World. Except there were no turkey legs.
No turkey. I do not like the smell of the turkey leg cards. I'm always like, I want to steer clear of those.
So, see, there's a couple other things that I wanted to bring up. I got to go to the Mary Sue's Strong Females in Pop Culture panel, and Jonah Marie went with me as well, and she is doing a lot of writing for a lot of places, but she is now writing for my site, Fangirl Next Door, and she actually covered this panel for us and had the audio, so you can hear all the audio there. But Vanessa Marshall was on this panel, as well as one of the creators of the, I could probably tell you her last name. What is her last name? Her last name is Scott. She's one of the female creators on the new, well, it's not new, it's in its 4th issue, Transformers Windblade comics from IDW.
Margaret Scott,
yep.
I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
She was on the panel as well. And, you know, they did a lot of talking. I'm opening my Transformers Windblade comic just to check. But they did a lot of talking about who their influences were and things like that. But I think my favorite part of that entire panel was that it wasn't just talking about, you know, females being strong and, like, independent and all this stuff, but them being well written. And I think that's important because I think a lot of people confuse strong females with just being, like, strong can do guy stuff, but not just necessarily being a strong, well-written, well-rounded character. And I really like when they got into a discussion actually about Twilight at the very end and talking about how it's important for females to stand up to tell younger females, you know, to help show them why a character is not a strong character, you know, and what is wrong with the way that character is written. But they also made a point to say that, you know, while this particular character of Bella from Twilight, for instance, is not a strong female character, that Stephanie Meyer has done a lot of things outside of Twilight, you know, to pioneer you know, strong characters, and we do have to also show, like, kind of admit that without Twilight and stuff like that, and without, like, the Hunger Games, we wouldn't have gotten Divergent, for example, being made into a movie, and things like that. So everything plays into each other, and that it's, you know, we can't just go around bashing everything. We have to have stuff to kind of talk about why it's not good, or...
Absolutely, and that's it's important because Twilight proved that there's a young female audience that will go to films and spend a lot of money, and that they can be passionate about things, and maybe not, you know, maybe there's problems with the character, but at the same time, you know, definitely being critical and bashing those characters as opposed to having a conversation about why perhaps Bella is different than Katniss, and how one might help a woman, inspire a young woman, or even a young man who sees the character or think about women differently, helps them think about. You should always be able to be, how would I say, critical of even the best stories. There could be something that could be better about a female character.
Absolutely.
So.
And then one of the things that actually came up that I thought would be important for us to mention here is that they talked about abuse as well, and that abuse is not just physical, that abuse can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be a lot of things. And that one of the things that came up in the Twilight series is actually, you know, the abuse that happens on both sides, male and female, and that it's important when we see these examples to really take the time to use that to tell the fan kids and the, you know, people under us to help explain, because a lot of times they're idolizing things that they shouldn't be idolizing, and we need to take that opportunity to teach them why. So needless to say, it was a very cool panel that got very deep.
That ties into the panel you did at Dragon Con, which is sometimes we write these things because they're long-standing tropes in storytelling. And so, you know, when we look at stories and why creators are creating them, are they just replaying a trope? Or, you know, sometimes you look at Star Wars, George Lucas used a lot of tropes from the hero's journey, but he also challenged some things, because Princess Leia wasn't she really wasn't Luke's temptation, which is one of the tropes, the woman as temptation or the temptress. She was actually she became Han's love interest, not Luke's love interest, and she was perfectly capable of doing her own thing. And she empowered Luke as well, and did not tempt him away from his journey. So I think that's, when you're looking at storytelling, I think George Lucas, and there were people who were helping him too, sort of challenged that story. And, that's what we're there to do too as a culture, is to challenge our stories to do better.
Right. So let's see. Let's lighten it up a little bit. I also got to go to the IDW panel where they told us all about stuff that's coming up, which of course involved Transformers, G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters crossover comics, which are starting very soon, new My Little Pony stuff, and then the breaking news announcement is that IDW has gotten the approval to do a Jem and the Holograms comic, which I'm so excited about. So excited. I actually got to meet Samantha Newark, who is Jem from Jem and the Holograms, the voice of her, at Fanboy Expo, and I made sure she knew this was coming because they had like a preview of the art. It looks so cool. I'm so pumped for it. And then somebody asked Katie Cook if she would ever want to do like a crossover between My Little Pony and Jem, and she said emphatically yes. And then they started talking about all kinds of My Little Pony crossovers with all the different licenses that IDW has. But here's one thing that happened that I didn't know, and then I found out too late, was there was a New York Comic Con exclusive My Little Pony cover of the comics, of the last Friendship is Magic comic, and it had the ponies dressed up as Transformers, G.I. Joes, and Ghostbusters, and all kinds of stuff, and I don't have it. I don't own it. And I'm super sad, because by the time I realized it, they were gone. It's a big sad face for me.
And she has an eBay search set up.
Oh, I'm looking. I'm looking. But let's see. So that was really cool. And then the other thing that came out of that's super important is the new Angry Birds Transformers comic that's coming. And can I just say, Angry Birds Transformers, the game, is amazing. It's amazing. And there were actual Angry Birds Transformers official cosplayers from Rovio and Hasbro and stuff there at Comic-Con, and you could play Angry Birds Transformers like on Optimus Prime's chest. It was really cool. So let's see, what else? So there was the Star Wars Rebels panel and a New Dawn panel, and Vanessa Marshall was on both. Both of those panels went super well. They were actually full, completely full, and they had to cap the line for both panels. So that was super impressive. And for the Star Wars Rebels panel, we got to see Rise of the Old Masters, which is the episode that we will see next Monday. And can I just say how amazing that episode is? I know, Tricia, you've seen it, and you can agree with me that it is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's really one of those episodes that you wish it weren't over, and you go through every kind of Star Wars emotion. It runs the full spectrum, and people are just I think they're gonna freak out. They're gonna be like totally in love with Rebels at that point, if they aren't already are. Right.
And so that happened, and then at the New Dawn panel, we heard, and we now know, which I'm not going to tell you, but we know that in Tarkin, that Emperor Palpatine's first name is revealed, and that name has actually been revealed online. So if you want to go and find it, we can put a link, but we won't post anything else in case you don't want to know. And then also we had an announcement from Marvel Comics as well. We've already heard that we're going to be getting, some kind of original trilogy based comics coming from Marvel when they acquire the license. Those will be the first things that we'll see. However, we got brand new news that there will be a Kanan comic series as well. So that's super exciting. We're going to get to learn more about Kanan, and I'm hoping we'll learn a lot about his Jedi training, his Padawanship, and things like that through comics. I'm pretty stoked.
And written by Greg Weisman.
Yeah, and Greg Weisman's going to be a part of it, which is even more exciting. So I got to meet a lot of publishers and specifically Marianne Zissimos, I think is how she says her last name. She's from Disney Publishing, and she is an amazing woman. Like, so much energy. She's so nice, so kind, and she spreads Disney pixie dust all over the place everywhere she goes. And I'm really pumped that I got to meet her, and so hopefully some good things will come out of that for Star Wars Bookworm. So I'm super excited. And then one last thing, Tricia.
Yep.
I got a tattoo in line for the new Dawn panel.
Seriously? Like, really?
Yeah, for real. Like, you know, with a little wet napkin and everything.
Oh. Okay, so there wasn't like a guy with a needle.
Well, I mean, I have tattoos, but no. Aaron Goins had awesome little Ewok tattoos. I don't know where he got them from. I really don't know where he got them from. But they're these really cute tattoos, and I got to put one on while we were waiting in line. And it's gone now. But it made me really happy, and I was making it dance for like 2 days.
Well, there you go. And that's you know, some of the fun things about conventions, and sometimes at the bigger conventions when you're waiting in line, it's being able to hang out with friends.
Definitely. Well, you were at Geek Girl Con.
I was.
What happened there?
Well, I wanted to just share, because this didn't get a lot of wide coverage, but if anybody's following Gamergate, we had Anita Sarkeesian, who has been she was on the cover of the New York Times this week, for being harassed for speaking up about video games and whatnot. She was actually there, and we had to start off the con. It's not a happy thing to talk about, but there were death threats at that con too, and so everybody was getting searched that got to go on any of her panels she did. So that was kind of something that, you know, sometimes people think, well, it doesn't affect me. It did affect everybody at that convention. And not only did that happen, anybody who tweeted out with the hashtag started getting harassed by internet trolls. So the con hashtag. So that was one of the things I just want to remind people, that you just never know when it's going to start affecting you. Like, it's just happening to her. It won't affect me. It did affect a lot of people at the con. And I don't bring that up to be as a downer, because everybody recovered and rallied, and it sort of proved that in the moment, if you all band together and kind of lock arms and just put up a nice face, sometimes it just stops, and it sort of went away. And I guess they realized they weren't going to get a rise out of the group of women and men. There are a lot of men, probably 40% at Geek Girl Con. And but one of my favorite things I got to do was I got to see Darth McKenna.
Yay!
Who, if anybody knows Darth McKenna, she's been on, she knows Ashley, if you've seen her. She's Darth Vader, who has a little pink flair to her. She cosplays as Pinky Tutu Darth Vader, so with her pink lightsaber. So we got to take a picture, which when I get to writing my recap, I will share my picture. And I also got to run into some people that I've met at other cons. So I did a quick podcast, YouTube, with the hosts of Game On Girl, which is a gaming podcast, and that's with Regina and Rhonda, and I got to talk to them. So it's fun to see people that you don't necessarily see all the time, and you just see them on the internet, and you're like, oh wow, I get to run into you. You know, they're like your Twitter friends. You get to meet your Twitter friends, which was sort of what Star Wars Weekends was for us already. So I'm already like, when's the next con? Oh yeah, it's Celebration. How far away is that? It's
6 months.
And counting. So maybe we should put a counter on that. And so that was exciting. And then obviously hosted the Star Wars panel. And my first time I hosted the Star Wars panel, that was the year that Ashley Eckstein had come, and I got to meet her. That was the first time I got to meet her. And we were in a little room on the lower level, and that room was standing room only. And so now the Star Wars panel is in one of the main rooms, and it was really a great discussion. I got so much positive feedback. It's one of those things where you're like, as you're planning it, and you're like, you have to lead a discussion and change it up for the next year and engage people and say things that they're interested. And so I had Lisa Granshaw on from the Daily Dot, who also wrote the Couture article in Star Wars Insider, and Megan Humphrey, who is on Far Far Away Radio podcast and also the program manager for Geek Girl Con, and she also does Sakura Con. And then Linda Hanson-Raj, who's on Fangirl, and she does like video game stuff, and she's doing the I call her my mommy blogger now, because her daughter is into Star Wars, and they've been doing the Rebels stuff, and she came to the panel. And then I had Kay from Fangirl, Geek Kay, out there on Twitter, and we had it was a good discussion. Obviously, we were talking about the past year and how things that we've talked about on our show. And so, it's sort of this, we see a lot of great things. Everybody was really positive about the show Rebels. Obviously the discussion about the cast photo and some of the toy rollouts. We really think that that's where Lucasfilm and Disney as a company need to sort of embrace us and give a little bit more positive signals. I've kind of felt a little hesitant this year. I'm just like, I haven't felt like, I feel we have the love, but it's not everybody feels like that is coming down the pipe. And so when I asked each of the panelists, they said they love Star Wars. They were so enthusiastic, but every single panelist felt like they needed just a little bit better clue from, the powers that be, that they really wanted to include women in the Star Wars family. So that was, it's one of those moments you're like, okay, well, I hope we can get that message out and get the takeaway.
Yeah.
I think as Rebels comes out, we're going to see more and more. But, there could be some things that will get better. And then that evening, it was a long day Saturday. So that was the noon panel, and it was, in there, the room was very full. Almost all the seats were taken. So then the costume contest was at 5 on Saturdays. Also, the Fangirl blog did the Heroine's Journey panel, which is based on a series on Fangirl blog, and BJ Priester hosted it and moderated it, and he invited Jennifer Stoller, who's like founded Geek Girl Con and this amazing critic, and she's written books on Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Wonder Woman, and she's this amazing, so smart woman who talks about female characters. And then Alan Sizzler Kistler, who's a reporter and a critic of comic books, and he does these amazing articles on the Mary Sue about sort of the genesis of comic book stories, and he's a feminist critic also. And so I'm sitting on this panel, and I'm like, well, there'll be people in the room. It'll be okay. Well, they had to stop. The room filled up to capacity. And I'm like, wow, there are so many people in here, and they wanted to hear about the story, how the, kind of the Campbellian myth, which is really grounded in Star Wars, can evolve, and not just in Star Wars, but evolve in numerous ways. So we talked about Frozen, and we talked about Black Widow, and we talked about, I'm trying to think of all these, Katniss. And one of the things I brought up, and I saw a lot of head shaking, so I really enjoyed this, was I noted that the first time I ever really saw a heroine's journey was in Star Wars, and it was Jaina's story in the expanded universe in the New Jedi Order, where we actually saw her get to grow and become a hero, ending in Destiny's Way. And one of the things I noted, and we were talking at that point about how sometimes female characters have to have their dad be a cop, or their dad has to be in the story to sort of validate them. We were talking about how, or then sometimes they, obviously a lot of times in hero's journey, Luke Skywalker, they kill the parents or make them orphans, So we were talking about these sort of tropes that are in stories that help people, and why do we do them, and why do we do that? And I said, well, it's interesting because for Jaina, and also for Jason, and also for Anakin in the expanded universe, just by edict of they couldn't be killed, Han Solo and Princess Leia, and then later for Ben, that Luke couldn't be killed, that their parents became part of their hero's journey for all those characters. They couldn't take them out, so we got to see Jaina interact with her mother and have conflict, and also interact with her dad and have conflict. And obviously Jason had a lot of conflict with his parents. And obviously those stories are legends now, but I think we know that in some way we're going to see those, you know, kind of conflicts. And I'm like, wow, that's really exciting. So I had this moment on the stage where I'm like, okay, the hero's journey is evolving, and, you know, we're going to see women have these journeys too. So it was really fun.
That's really good. Really good.
Anyway, so on that note,
let's talk about an awesome female character. It's been a little while.
It's been a little while. And she's one of our favorite characters. And I was looking at it when you brought it up, I'm like, why haven't we talked about this character?
I don't know. Why haven't we? She's voiced by one of our favorite fangirls, and fortunately enough to be called one of our friends. It would be Ahsoka Tano.
Yes. And Ahsoka lives. That's my hashtag.
I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about this character because there's nothing for me to say bad. You know, I think that Ahsoka evolved a lot from the Clone Wars movie through all, I'll say 5 seasons of the Clone Wars. And people that didn't like her eventually grew to love her. And people who already loved her grew to love her even more. And a lot of that is attributed to Ashley and the way that she portrayed her and the way that the life that she gave to the character just through her voice. There's just so much about her, and I love being able to go back and rewatch and follow her character growth. But I don't know. I mean, I think we should probably, because I know you're going to say some very similar things, we should pick 3 things that we love about her, and then, like, one of us go and the other one go, and then when we steal each other's to think of others. So I'll let you go.
Well, one of the things I really love about Ahsoka, and it might be my, like, underrated thing, is she, in a lot of ways, is a lot like Luke Skywalker, but I don't think we gave her the benefit of the doubt, as, like, a lot of times people just gave, you know, Luke was whiny at the beginning of New Hope. He had to go somewhere, though, right? He had to kind of evolve from sort of this guy who's like, oh, I want to go to Tashi Station, to, you know, somebody who was different. And Ahsoka was she was a little brash, she was a little eager when she started out. And my hesitancy with the character was that I was like, well, Anakin didn't have a Padawan, and how's this going to work? But I was open to saying, okay, I want to see you do this. I want to see you guys as storytellers convince me that this is going to work. So I think one of the great things about Ahsoka Tano, and that as a character, she proved and challenged our sort of, how would we say, our expectations, or what we believe something is, what we believe Star Wars is, and kind of pushed fandom past it. Because I know a lot of people did not. They were like, oh, this can't happen. And now some of those same people, they were like, what? Save the Clone Wars. Oh my gosh, it can't be over. Wait, I want to see Ahsoka. So,
yep.
There you go.
Okay, one of my favorite things is actually her second outfit. When she got her new outfit and her head tails grew and she filled out a little bit more and she got a little bit taller and she got her 2 lightsabers, like the little short one and the long one, I could not contain myself, because she, to me, had grown into a Jedi. You know, like, now she was ready to go, and suddenly she had, like, her utility belt, like, she was pumped and ready, and I loved that. That was one of my favorite things about her transformation, was seeing that growth, that the outer growth is now reflecting the inner growth of her.
Even like the way she stood.
Yeah.
Like they stood her, well, I mean, not she stood, but I think this is the way the animators maybe portrayed her and projected her. And maybe that was a little bit in part to how Ashley was growing with the character too. But she definitely looked kind of more confident and established.
Definitely. And I'm actually staring at a picture of her in that stance from Official Pics, because I have that, like, right in front of me. When I podcast, I am looking at Ahsoka's fierce face that's telling me, "Do it, girl."
With the reverse grips on her Shoto and lightsaber, because I want 2 lightsabers.
I want that. I want the Shoto, and I want the actual lightsaber, and I want to hold them like her, like the reverse grip. Like, it's amazing.
And don't mess with me. And Nicola would be like, "Stunt girls, you're going to get your faces hacked off, so turn around."
Well, I could go into the Jedi path on all the different ways that you can use a lightsaber, but I will not. I learned a lot from my little Padawan book. So that's my first thing.
That's your first thing?
Yeah.
I like that Ahsoka Tano taught us something more about Anakin Skywalker and why it really mattered to him about losing. I mean, we know his mother mattered, but this sort of even gives it another layer where that moment, obviously at the conclusion, when she's like, "No, I don't think I want to be a Jedi," maybe took some weight out of his sails, because obviously part of Revenge of the Sith is him questioning the Jedi path that he had been put on, and so desperate to not lose his attachment. And the intention for Ahsoka was to teach Anakin to let go of his attachments, because she was confident, and she was had very able, and they thought she was gonna, the Jedi Council said, well, she's gonna move along quickly, and he'll learn that she can progress and move on without him, and he'll learn to let go, that he can have someone in his life and they can move on. And that's not what happened. So that's one of the things that makes her great.
You're going super deep. All of mine are not as deep. I love her feistiness and her snippiness and all the funny things she comes up with to say, like Goldie and Artui and and Sky Guy and just all those kind of things. I mean, it just, yay for lightheartedness.
I have this vision where I want to see, older, mature Ahsoka Tano run into Darth Vader and be like, "Hey, Sky Guy, what went wrong with you?" Come on.
Yeah.
And he's just going,
yeah. No, I would love like a fanfic movie of Ahsoka interacting with Darth Vader, looking at him super confused, like, "What'd you do? Like, come on, what's wrong with you?"
Oh.
What's your last thing?
I just, that my favorite thing is that she didn't die, and somehow Dave Filoni convinced George Lucas not to kill her.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yep. The fact that she lived.
That's just a so simple thing, but I'm like, I don't know what you did. My favorite thing is that somehow, I don't know where I was listening to, but because there was a recent interview with Dave Filoni talking about Rebels, and it was while I was on the way to Geek Girl Con. I was reading on my phone, which sometimes you can't remember where you saw it, but he was saying that his uncle's advice had been, when he met George Lucas to interview for the Clone Wars, that his uncle had said, well, just remember George Lucas puts his pants on one leg at a time, so you can be a fan of him but still challenge him. So obviously, thank you for challenging the notion that the Padawan had to die.
Yeah. No, I'm glad. I'm so glad that she did not die. That was the best part. I mean, it was sad and I cried a lot, but at least she didn't die. So hashtag Ahsoka lives. And will we see her in Rebels? Dear God, I hope so.
Or Star Wars 7, her own movie.
Or something. Yeah, spin-off movie. Yes.
Spin-off movie. There we go. We're pitching again.
And I want Ashley in, I don't want it animated. I want it, real life, and I want Ashley in the costume.
Oh, no. Have you seen that picture? You remember the picture when they did her all up in the cosplay?
No, you'll have to send it to me. I don't remember it.
I'll have to find it. Yeah, because I was like, wow, she totally looks like her.
Yep. Well, that brings us to an end of another show, Tricia.
Is it really?
Yeah.
So the next show is going to be a party because we're going to celebrate that we graduated to podcasting kindergarten.
Woo!
So we will have fireworks put on
glitter
by
bombs.
the Ewoks and glitter bombs, and
cupcakes.
We'll have to round up special guests. Yes, I'm going to wear my T-shirt that says "Come to the dark side." I have cupcakes.
I don't have that shirt.
I could not resist it. So anyway.
Yeah, we'll have to definitely plan something big. So thanks to everyone who always appreciates our show and reaches out to us and communicates with us and all of those kind of things. We value every single one of you. So keep interacting with us. You can find us on Twitter. We're at FG Going Rogue. Tricia is at Fangirl Cantina. I am at Ice Cold Penguin. And all of those are also on Instagram. So same ones. And then you can email us. It's fangirlsgoingrogue@gmail.com. And if you email us, I will read it.
And, you're going to get like 40.
I hope so.
And there you go. The voicemail, if it's not obvious why we have this as our voicemail after listening to our shows, then we're a lost cause. But it's 331-21-EWOKS. And that is number-wise, 331-213-9657. All of this is always in our show notes.
And hang on really quick. We have not gotten one voicemail in a long time. And I am very, very sad. So, the first person to leave us a voicemail from this show is going to get an awesome giveaway.
Oh, there you go.
From me, from my personal collection, I will be sending you something amazing.
There you go. Facebook, search Fangirls Going Rogue, and you can see there our awesome new pink lightsaber banner, Fangirls Going Rogue. Tumblr, fangirlsgoingrogue.tumblr.com. And then please go to RebelForce Radio on iTunes, if you use iTunes, and leave a positive review. And in your review, mention how much you like Fangirls Going Rogue.
Ooh, and I decided what I'm going to give away.
What's that?
I have an autographed photo of Hera signed by Vanessa Marshall that I will give, and it's official. It's official. I was there. I will give it to the person who leaves us our first voicemail. Awesome. And I'm going to post that everywhere, too. So, be the first person. But I won't post it till after the show's posted. Okie dokie then. So until next time, yub.
Yub.
Oops.
Yub. Blooper.
Blooper.
Oh, well.